This region around the Great Lakes has been called the heartland. When it comes to agriculture, there's hardly an area in the world that compares.
Everybody, just hold on. I don't know what we're going to have here.
That's what brings the viewers back. That a boy.
Managed money, piling in.
Double digits higher.
So at this point, we're in kind of uncharted territory.
There's a lot of money on the sidelines.
So that was a crazy one.
Good morning, everybody. It's Wednesday, August 6th, and this is the AgYield War Room. Dan Dempsey, and I'll be moderating today's session. As always, if you get any questions or comments, please feel free to drop us a line in the chat area. I'll be sure to get to it during the show. Overnight markets here at September corn down 1 3/4 at 379 3/4. September soybeans were up 3 1/4 at 974 3/4. And September Chicago wheat was down 2 at 506 1/4. One thing to note from yesterday, there was a late reporting of an export sale announcement of 128,000 corn to unknown destinations for 25. What was interesting about this is that it initially flashed as a soybean sale. Good Hope is hard to find over there, I guess, and but it has been corrected to corn. So I just wanted to point that out. Nothing really fresh here this morning, guys. Weather heats up here for the next 7 to 10 days, but still appears that the markets, are pleased with the amount of precipitation and where we're at relative to the corn and bean crops so far. But outside of that, at the fear of being a broken record, I guess, Dustin, maybe share a few thoughts here this morning, and we'll throw around the room.
Yeah, thanks, Dan. I think that one of the bigger things, if you want to put up this image on the screen, Jack, is, as we go lower, different revenue streams could be like a surprising outcome. So there's a lot of noise on this chart, and these are purely estimates. But let's just say, just to kind of follow up to a lot of the discussions we've had on this show about if you're a certain type of grower who's bought certain higher level of insurance, the lower it goes, potentially the more revenue we will see for the 2025 corn crop. So to try to explain this mess a little bit, as you're seeing this blue line go lower, that's the revenue and the price of these 25 futures. So that's basically your total revenue from bushels only in blue is going down. The insurance revenue is going up though, right? That's why the orange line is keeping revenue stable. And if you're adding just some slight bit of sales in green, that's basically the cash value of the sales in relation to the market is improving. And then we have this last point, which is that projected PLC payment, which that is a pure estimate, right? We a lot of times it's hard to match up to that marketing year average. But if we're taking all this against that red line of cost of production, we're actually, even without yield increases, we're actually able to supersede that cost with revenue through multiple revenue streams as prices go lower. So it's hard for someone to conceptualize this until they start to see how all of those revenue streams stack up on top of each other. And this is where it gets really interesting, because the last time we had these types of incentives of the market to go lower to get more revenue was 2020, and we had the opposite happen. Right? We had a lot of people kind of assume that the market's going to keep going lower, and they were selling even though their revenue streams are already stacking up to have a windfall in a breaking market. Now, right now, I don't think this is 2020 at all. I think we have really good weather, and we've obviously got like StoneX writing down 188 bushel yields. I think there's a reason all these things are happening. As we talked about yesterday, I'm not going to poo-poo those yield estimates necessarily, but I will kind of refocus everyone, I think, onto this and just try to map out where your balance is. Because if this is your situation, if you have an elevated insurance policy, you have a few sales in place, and you have a high level of base acres that are corn, you may actually be in a better spot than you think right now, and a growing better spot the lower we go. So the natural inclination in August is to sell when you're staring out your back window looking at good crops, when in reality is like you already have that floor in place.
And and one thing to note too, Dustin, I had this conversation with a grower yesterday. We've talked a lot about, like better expected outcome, or, better intended outcomes, excuse me, if we go into that 350 or some number that's, significantly lower from here. But there's actionable items down there, right? There's things that need to be analyzed and looked at for what you should be doing should that scenario play out.
Yeah, absolutely. There are there's a million ways to position, right? That's the hard part, is that there's almost, you have to really first test and kind of estimate where you're at with all these revenue streams, and then it becomes a bit more clear how you're going to combat that, right? If we're down at 375, for example, there's a lot of people, and this depends on yield estimates too, but there's a lot of people that really should actually start doing the opposite. They should start protecting these payments in the other direction, because their risk is like 2020, and we talked about this ad nauseum in 2020. A rebound would hurt people, and there's ways to protect yourself in a very unconventional way, which is just simply look at the balance of the market and consider where do you make less and where do you make more, and go try to counter that.
Sure. And as always, excuse me, give us a call. Love to visit with you if anybody's got any questions on any of these things that we're bringing up. Justin, it was interesting. I was looking this morning, kind of interesting to see Argentina set to ship corn into China, and I think this kind of piggybacks on some of the things you've been talking about in terms of them trying to, looking to decouple from being dependent on US, and just how that whole global trade is starting to show its face a little bit.
Yeah. And, Argentina's completely turned around with their new president. They have a surplus. They've got aggressive and permanently cut some of the export taxes on corn, soybean products, wheat. So they realize that that's a big part of their economy, and he's smart. He's not what was, had been previously running that country for more than, a decade or two. So he's going to be aggressive and try to sell product and raise GDP and continue that surplus. So that makes sense. At the same time that we're trying to figure out, like we talked about, what, China's going to continue to look at options for obvious reasons. So I don't think that's surprising, but yeah, it's definitely a headwind. I wanted to add to what Dustin was talking about too. So it's not just if corn gets to 350, like if prices were to start going up from here, a lot of people would make less money than they are today. So it's not just like something that could happen. It's something that we're in the middle of. If you look at that chart, so I think it's more actionable than if we get super cheap, because I think between now and call it, you have, seasonal lows, like we talked about a lot going into first notice day of September. And even if it's a really big crop and we continue to break all the way into, October, around that crop insurance price between here and there, and you're in this situation, you need to have several plans of how you're going to play it, because I think it'll turn around, whatever that bottom is. We could have a quick reversion back to where the most pain is for most people, which could be in that 420, 430 area. So I think it's kind of actionable now, at least as a game plan, and starting to really look at it, especially if you're someone that's 50% sold or even more, because that's just when you typically get sold. Your risk might be a lot higher than you think on a modest rebound in prices. So I think it's really important to just know exactly what you actually have on. So that's all I'll add to that. Yeah. As far as Argentina, I mean, we're in this, still trying to figure out trade war. I think interesting that, he's being so aggressive on India. I think he really wants India to open up our ag markets to them. So we'll see how that plays out too.
And they've got a problem with the genetically modified stuff, right? I think that's the big tie up right now, is trying to open that market.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's part of it. And yeah, India's a different kind of culture. So we'll see. But there's a lot of other things that I think they could be buying. So we'll see how that all plays out.
Sure. That was a good point, Justin. And we did see overnight a big jump in corn open interest, up 24,000 or so. And it's a real key area here, obviously, for D's corn now, just right almost at $4. So,
Yeah, I mean, this time of year that will, I think we'll get more estimates. I mean, obviously we have a really big crop out there. I think, find the difference between obviously a 188 or 190 and a 180 is, a massive difference in price potential. So I think it's gonna be really important to see what, we're starting to get, really good growers that are checking their fields, and you're going to start getting, like we've talked about, these co-ops and groups that go out there and really dig in. I mean, right now, these are surveys from Stone. They could be right for sure. But these are, asking a bunch of people what they think. And I think if you look at price and you look at how, green the crop looks, you're going to say it's a really big yield. But until you go in there and start looking, it could be bigger than that. It could be quite a bit smaller. So I think it just depends once we start getting that real, boots on the ground feedback that we're going to have a better idea. But that being said, I think what Dustin started with is the most important. It honestly doesn't matter what the USDA comes out or what Stone comes out with. It's what your crop is and what position you have on. That's all that really matters at the end of the day.
Yeah, very good. Ben, you want to share what's on your mind here this morning? He's muted. He's rolling. Ben, you're muted.
Ben, you're muted.
It was really good.
You nailed it, kid.
Sorry. Little technical glitch there. Just to jump on what Justin said there at the end about all the other things. As a young trader, one of the great lessons I got was from someone in the wheat. And, you're trying to figure out where all this stuff goes, how it works. Where does the last trade go? And the message was, it doesn't matter. What matters is what you have. If you go down that rabbit hole, you'll make yourself crazy. So I think that is really good advice in this situation, especially when we have, particularly sitting in my seat right now with the Eastern Corn Belt with a lot of variability. So, that's the whole point of how we work on AgYield with our platform, is to get on an individual basis. And you got to make decisions that fit you, not, speculation about where we're at with this or that or the other.
Yeah, that's a very good point. And again,
don't you guys think that USDA is likely to print close to a 185 on this August report? I know you saw the FC Stone numbers, and somebody put up on Twitter, I saw like the last 4 or 5 years, their estimates in August and kind of where the USDA came in, and they were relatively close. I mean, some misses on different years, but definitely the trend. Definitely the trend.
You're referencing Stone there, Jace, where they were at?
Yeah, Stone put out, what, a 188?
Yeah, so I looked at that yesterday. They've been within it's like 3 to 3.5 bushel is kind of where they've fallen.
Yeah, you're saying too high of what the USDA puts out, or the final?
Yeah, yield? They've generally been a little bit. They've generally been like 3 bushel high.
Okay, so that would suggest a 185 or something.
Something in that ballpark.
Yeah, personally, I would assume it's going to go up, right? If you just look at if it's just going to be satellite imagery, surveys, and crop conditions, all those would point to higher than trend.
Right.
Which I don't think is a surprise, but the big surprise would be if they didn't raise it.
Yeah,
which I don't think would happen.
Yeah, obviously that's what the market's been trading the last couple weeks.
Yep.
So I don't know if we've seen estimates yet on what people are thinking for this report, but I'm guessing it's right around there.
Yeah, today or tomorrow. By the end of the week, they'll put the whole deal out, I think, is what I saw. But the bean one is interesting too. I mean, does the bean number go up a little bit?
I would think they hesitate to raise it too much, but I'm guessing they do. Raise it half a bushel to a bushel or something. Be my guess.
Very good. We might have to do one of our world famous call the report thing. See who comes closer. We're still waiting for Dustin's double-digit higher here, so
yeah,
any day now.
It eventually is going to come. Rylan, quickly, let's look at livestock here. Pretty incredible. We basically got back all of Thursday's losses, so we dug ourselves back to where we began, and October hogs, busted through some key technical areas there yesterday, going into 3-week highs. So maybe share a few thoughts here as we start the day.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like you got choice and select market all whooped up yesterday. You had a $4 jump in beef alone. So, it seems like just anytime we see any real weakness, the buyers are right there to kind of bring it back. The trend is staying really strong right now. It looks like we're headed up to new highs for the move. Possibly, August making new record highs, and it just seems like we're on the path to convergence in August. So cash offers started to kind of show up, 238, 240 in the south, and I think the expectation is that trade is going to start to pick up here pretty quick this week. Slaughters are pretty tight, so it just seems like overall there's a good chance that we still see Packers pay up. I think the question mark is how do things shape up in the north? Are we still going to see that big deviation, those big premiums? But as of right now, I think the market's expecting it, so still pretty firm there. On the hog side of things, yeah, just the buyers just really haven't stopped. It seems like just a good old-fashioned, good carcass, firm cash, really just keeping things afloat right now. So, we did see carcass up about 33 cents yesterday to 118.12, and bellies back up to 190. They were up $3 yesterday. So all the news kind of good coming into the day. I think overall it's just been a pretty good move. You'll likely run into some kind of hedge pressure, but, with October kind of slowly narrowing that gap between, today's cash price and just where we're at right now, I think you probably are drawing a bit of it out, especially in the back end where you're making new contract highs. So I think that's going to be more and more appealing, but the trend is good right now. And I think just, obviously pork is still being held up by beef at this point. So I think unless we see a real change in the beef market, carcass is likely to hold up as well. So all news pretty good coming into the day here on the meats.
Very good. Appreciate the update there. We just came into the open. We got September corn down a penny and a half now at 380. September soybeans are up 3.5 at 975. And September Chicago wheat is up a half at 508 3/4. Tomorrow morning, we're going to get weekly export sales. Those will be out at 7:30 Central. We'll take a look at those and visit about them in the war room. We appreciate everybody that tunes in on a daily basis. If you wouldn't mind, throw us a like and certainly subscribe. Doesn't cost you anything to do so. It'll keep you up to speed on everything that's going on with AgYield. So again, thanks to everybody that supports the show. We're doing this live every day that the markets are open on X, Facebook Live, and YouTube Live, 8:15 Central Time. Appreciate the thoughts and comments here this morning, guys. It was a good show. Hope everybody has a great day, and we'll talk to you again tomorrow.
The War Room is proudly presented by AgYield. For over 50 years, the AgYield team has provided grain marketing and risk management solutions for growers across the country. Our veteran consultants harness cutting-edge technologies to pinpoint risk, optimize market performance, and protect your farm's profitability. Discover a new approach to farm revenue management at agyield.com.
Hey guys, Jack here. Be sure to support the show by hitting the like button, leaving us a comment, and subscribing to the channel for all the latest updates. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.